This is the third time that I'm trying to record this video, and every time it just keeps deleting it. So maybe we're just gonna try and keep this shorter. Maybe I have to do it in a couple parts, which I fucking hate doing. So how did I accidentally become a real estate attorney? In that video, I talk about how property law was my very first law school class. I did not, I'm not missing words. I did not enjoy that class. I didn't understand most of it. Mercifully somehow passed it, but I did not enjoy that class. There are classes in law school that I did enjoy. Shocker. So how did I accidentally become a real estate attorney? Let me tell you. So I went to law school in Boston. I moved to DC because that's where my ex-husband was living at the time. So moved to DC, and I was doing document review because there were not a lot of legal jobs when I graduated law school because of the market. So I'm doing document review, which sits, it's big litigation stuff, and I'm looking at the computer all day, every day, looking at discovery stuff, and it's fucking mind-numbing. And for the attorneys that are watching this, like, if you've ever done that, like, you know. But I get a phone call from a friend of mine from law school who also moved to DC and said, I'm pregnant, and I'm going on maternity leave, and I need somebody to do real estate closings. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what real estate closings are. Like that was not even on my radar. But I said, you know what? I am real sick of doing what I'm doing, and I am up for a challenge and learning something new. And even if it's something that I don't like, get me out of here. So that's what I did. Went across the river. She taught me how to do real estate closings. And when I say taught me how to do real estate closings, it was the technical stuff, like how to review a preliminary title report, how to do a HUD-1 settlement statement, which is like the grid on all of the charges that are going to go through a real estate closing, like the purchase price, the loan amount, like all of the credits, the tax, all of that stuff, like how to do that. And I fucking loved it. I loved it. I love doing the actual closing. In Virginia, it's different than in California. Virginia is an attorney state, so there's an attorney that sits at the table with you when you're buying or selling real estate. There are some independents, but there's attorneys involved in that process. But I realized that, I love a good puzzle. I love a good puzzle. And there's always something different in every transaction. Every single one, there is something different, even though it's all real estate. And it all goes through almost exactly the same steps from the time that you're under contract until the time you close. It's the same shit. But everybody's different. All the agents are different. The parties are different. There's always something there's always something going on with the real estate. But also the historical aspect. I love going through the chain of title and looking to see who owned it and what kind of stuff was done. But also figuring out the problems that show up with real estate. There's an old lien that needs to be released. Great. Let's go find them. I became very, very good at researching successors and interest in mortgages. Especially when the banking collapse happened. The early 2000s were fucking wild in real estate, and trying to track things down was a fun game. For me, not for others. It was fun for me. But that was how I got introduced to real estate law, was because a friend said, I'm going to have a baby and I need somebody to do this thing for me while I'm out on maternity leave. And it turned into something for me. It turned into multiple businesses later on, not right away, but I ended up taking over that practice in the firm that we were both working at. I ended up taking over that practice. So I was doing all of the real estate closings. We had a closing agent, escrow officer type, who handled all the technical stuff. But I was the closing attorney for this firm. And then it evolved even further, where I ended up owning a title company with two of my partners at that law firm. So we did the whole damn thing, and it was great. And then I moved here in 2017, and my world was turned upside down, because California and Virginia are we might as well be on different planets when it comes to what happens in real estate and how different it is here versus there, here in California. I worked at an escrow company, and I think I could not have been any luckier working at the company that I worked for, because the people that I worked with were the best people to work with. They had been in the industry forever. They knew everything and everyone. And what a great place to learn about California. Being just thrown right into it and figuring it out. But what it also did is, for me on the attorney side, is that I realized that there is a hole in supporting buyers and sellers in California, where they're not getting legal support when they absolutely need it, because there are things that are happening during this transaction that, one, everybody's got a blind spot to. And I'm not saying this is like some prophetic, like, oh, I know everything. Like, fuck that. But what I'm saying is that there are legal consequences to what you're doing during this transaction that you don't know about. And it's not because you're dumb, because you're not. It's not because you're ignorant in like the derogatory sense. You don't know what you don't know, and that is okay. That's why you have a support team with you. You have your real estate agent, you have your lender, you have your insurance broker. But what somebody is, there's a piece that's missing in this puzzle, and it's a real estate attorney. And that's to help you with risk management during the process and risk management after the process. So coming out here and working in an escrow department, and I'm like, who's answering these questions for these people? Fast forward a little bit. I take the bar exam. I pass. I'm with another law firm for a little while. We're killing it. I have a crisis moment, crisis in a great way. I am having a conversation with a colleague of mine who's buying real estate for the first time, and they're an attorney as well. They're not a real estate attorney, but they're also an attorney. And by the end of the conversation, they're like, how does anybody do this without an attorney? Because it's not like I'm a dummy, right? Like, I'm a lawyer. I did the whole thing. I think I know what's going on, but I didn't understand anything about this real estate transaction. How do people who don't know how to read contracts like we know how to read contracts do this? And I said, that's a really great question. And it turned into this law firm. So I started this firm in January. We opened in January 2021 to answer this question: is how do I support a buyer and seller during real estate in California, so you guys don't get fucked? So that's how I accidentally became a real estate attorney. Realized that I really freaking love real estate. I love dealing with this. I love dealing with the people. I love all of the weird stuff we do in real estate. And like, real estate is like the least sexy of all of the laws. Maybe tax. I think tax is probably the most like unsexy of all of the things that us attorneys can do. Real estate might be a close second, but it's so much fun, and there's so much that goes on in real estate that you have no freaking clue. And I only, like, if I were to, I'm going to draw a circle of like real estate law. Like, what I do in real estate is like, if the circle is real estate law, and this is kind of funny. If real estate is the circle, like my little circle right here, that's what I do in real estate law. There's so much that goes on in real estate, and I can't wait to share more about it, and maybe bring in some of my colleagues that are handling the stuff that I don't touch, because we don't do that. Anyway, so that's how I accidentally became a real estate attorney.